Joining us now from Richmond, State Senator Jill Vogel. She is from the Clark and Winchester area. She's a Republican from the 27th District, and she's got a big announcement to make. Hey, Senator, great to have you with us.
Good morning. It's great to be on. How are you?
I've never been better, doing fantastic. Weekend too short as always, but other than that, we're doing fine. I am battling, though, the flu, so kind of hang in there with me.
What?
If
Good
you
for
would.
you.
I know I got sick.
You would never know to hear you talk, man. You're amazing.
Well, we're trying hard, so we got.
Do you have a bucket? Do you have a bucket there under the desk?
We have we have my wife's witch's brew that she's making me drink that I took to the studio. So some kind of concoction that seems to be helping me out. So that's working. Tell us about your big announcement.
Well, my big announcement is that I am running for lieutenant governor. I am proud to say that I am finally telling the numbers of people who were encouraging me from around the Commonwealth of Virginia to be a candidate and to get in the game. And I was really, kind of reluctant to do it and sort of not really ready to say right this minute, but I made the decision, and you will remember, and it was in part because of you, that you and I had a discussion a long time ago about whether or not, my name was out there and whether it was something I would ever do. And you would say, well, some people say you'll always say you're considering it, you'll never do it, or you'll never make up your mind, or something in it. And I never forgot it. And so I remembered when I make up my mind and I actually decide that I'm going to do it, then by golly, I'm going to say I'm going to do it. So it's early to launch a campaign. I mean, this is not a race that's going to, voters aren't going to have to vote for lieutenant governor until 2017. We've got a primary that's a year away. So it's a long, long, long way away. But to be fair to the people who are encouraging me and, asking me to be a candidate and saying, well, what can I do to support you and when will you make a decision? I decided it's time to say I'm in. I'm so excited to be in. I'm excited to have that support. And now, in the very, very near term, we've got, as you just said, the Senate session is finishing up this week. We've got congressional races to focus on, and most of all, a huge presidential race to focus on. So I am not interested in sucking any of the oxygen out of those really important campaigns that need everybody's undivided attention. But to be fair to the people who are so supportive of me and have been so kind and so, interested and engaged, I want to say, yes, I'm in. So you heard it here.
Well, thank you. And I think you made the absolute right decision to go early and kind of get people excited about what you might do in the future. Although, as you said, there's many other things coming up. But it's one of those things where I think you've got to get out there and get your name out, because so many people had come to me and said, hey, have you heard anything about Vogel? So I think this was the right thing to do. Now, you mentioned a primary. I'm assuming that the nominating process is going to be through a convention in May of 2017. That was based on kind of a handshake deal that was made. Go with a presidential primary, then go with a convention
right.
for May.
That's exactly right. And I said primary meaning, our nominating process, but it will be a convention. That's I think the decision's been made, and so that's how we're going to do our nominating process. And you mentioned that there's a lot to be excited about and a lot of other things to focus on. And that's in part why I'm really excited to be a candidate in Virginia, because I would like for us to have candidates in Virginia right now that at the state level we can be excited about, that will, kind of inject some energy and some excitement. And, one of the things that I'm excited about is that all these folks who are, sometimes not that engaged have been willing to step up early and say, if you do this, I will engage. And there's something really important and meaningful about that. And if you look at what's happening at the national level, how people are incredibly engaged and how kind of anemic it's been at the state level for a while, and how we've kind of just, abdicated everything to having Democrats statewide across all of these races, it's really kind of disappointing. And I think it's important for people in the Commonwealth of Virginia to see that we've got a lively group of competent and accomplished Republicans who can put themselves out there, who, frankly, like me, are just like them. And if you ask many Republicans, they would say, well, you know what, there are not a lot of people like me out there who are, like in my case, a mom who, runs a business and, signs somebody's paycheck every week and has to balance a lot. And they're like, you know what, there are no people like that left anymore. And I'm here as a candidate to say that's absolutely not true. And, lucky for me, Virginia is a citizen legislature. And, I actually pulled over on the side of the road to make this call in on the show so I could, be home this morning and get my kids ready for school and do all of that and then drive to Richmond and do my Senate job. And I'll drive home tonight to be home for them and, be mom and then go back to the Senate again tomorrow. And so there's a lot of reason to have people appreciate and understand that there are people out there who do this job. It's a public service job who are just like them. And that there are people that they can be excited to get behind and support who will, operate and vote and participate in the process the way they would like them to, that they can identify with.
Well, Senator,
so I'm excited
look,
to do that for our party.
No, I think you're right. And I'm installing you as the favorite now immediately going in, and I'll tell you why. You're going to be running against about 5 other candidates. Let me just, for our audience, so our audience knows who they are. Senator Bryce Reeves from the Fredericksburg area is, before Jill got in, was my morning line favorite. Shaq Hill will be running. Micah Edmonds, who ran for Congress in Northern Virginia, I believe against Don Beyer in that area. Former Senator Ralph Smith, we understand, is going to run from Southwest Virginia. And then Tidewater Representative in Virginia Beach, Glenn Davis. So you've got Reeves, Hill, Edmonds, Senator Vogel, former Senator Smith, Representative Davis from Virginia Beach. You got 4 or 5 candidates running for governor: Ed Gillespie, Rob Whitman, likely Pete Snyder, Corey Stewart, most likely Ken Cuccinelli also. And then for attorney general, you've got 3 candidates: Rob Bell, who's the prohibitive favorite, John Adams, and Chuck Smith. So I reeled off 5, 10, 11, 15 names. One woman.
Wow.
One woman out of 15 running in that convention. Not that gender is going to be a determining factor, but I just got to tell you straight out, Republicans are going to be looking at their ticket and they're going to see out of 15 candidates, 13 white men, 2 black males, and 1 woman. I think that you're going to have to look at some level of diversity than to nominate another 3 white guys. So I'm just saying, I think that plays to your advantage.
Well, you know what? I'll take whatever I can get, but I have found that is not usually dispositive. And the calls that I make, the people who get behind me, the thing they care about is, are you right with me on, pick your issue, immigration, taxes, whatever it is, long before they ever get to, hey, and by the way, you're a mom or a woman. So there's a lot of work to do, and I'm impressed because you're telling me lots of information that I wasn't up to speed on because I was never sure. I always knew this was going to be a big field, but you're always way ahead of the game. I had no idea that it was going to be some of those folks were, absolutely getting in.
Reeves,
but
Hill,
it'll be
Edmonds,
it'll be fun.
Reeves, Hill, Edmonds, Smith, and Davis. And on the Democratic side, there's 2 candidates who we know are going to run, and that's Justin Fairfax, who got beat by Mark Herring in a squeaker in 2013 when he ran for attorney general. He's going to run for lieutenant governor. I can never think of his name, but there's a U.S. attorney in Northern Virginia that is running on the Democratic side. I've got it written down. I have a mental block. I just can't think of his name. He'll run a legitimate campaign. But then the one to watch is House of Delegates member Eileen Filler-Corn from Northern Virginia, who I think is going to get in the race. And if she does, I think she'll be tough to beat on the Democratic side. So we could end up with 2 women in the General Assembly running against each other for lieutenant governor. Now tell me, that wouldn't be a fascinating race. That
would be amazing. That would be absolutely amazing.
So you have
good for us.
Well, that's what I think.
If we can get that far, that good for us if we can, and then it'll be a great opportunity for Virginia to have a shot at a dialogue that will be on the issues. And I got to tell you, we need on our side, on our party side, an opportunity to get out in front and really get our mojo back and change the dynamic and let people in Virginia here, where we are. I would argue that the majority of the people in the Commonwealth of Virginia are with us on the issues. We are a center-right state, and in huge parts of the state, we're a hard-right state. And how it is that, the message is what it is, and that we have, continued to not win some of these statewide races that we should win is, in my mind, malpractice. So we got to fix that.
Well, you've got to win a statewide race. I mean, you've lost 6 in a row, and 7 out of 8, or I think it was 8 out of 9, or I could go back probably beyond that, 10 out of 11 or something.
Right.
You've lost a whole bunch in a row. Republicans have to win a statewide race, or basically Virginia is going to go in the blue column as far as I'm concerned. Now, I want to get to the presidential campaign. A lot of hand wringing over the fact that Trump might be the nominee. You've got Scott Ridgel now saying if he is, he will go third party. You just heard the speech the other day by Romney. There's a lot of Trump voters, Senator Vogel, that I talked to that are offended by that because they basically think that some of these elites are calling them stupid. How do you stand on this?
Well, and I would say, come on. I mean, every time I hear somebody, stand back and pass judgment on where the heart and soul of the voters lies right now, I mean, look who's winning these primaries. Come on. Why in the world would you try to take away from that or get in the way of, a candidate that the majority of the people believe is 100% authentic, who is totally engageable, and is out there, out in front on all these issues? And so what? What candidate do you ever agree with on 100% of the things? None.
Right.
But somehow there's this huge intimidation factor that, oh my gosh, a train's left the station, or somehow we can't control this candidate or this campaign. So what? Good for us for having somebody who's out there who's rallied crowds like he's been able to rally, who's been able to bring so much diversity, into the party, and who's been able to reach all of these people who, don't care. Like I listened to my own kids who listen on the radio as we've been driving back and forth because they've gone to session with me some, and we sometimes listen to these debates. And I mean, you listen to a kid listen to the debate, and they get supercharged by a guy who's out there and just, laying it out and telling it like it is. And so, to begrudge any party the opportunity for a candidate like that to get their message out there and to deliver people is, in my mind, very, very, very short-sighted.
I think you're right.
And you run the race you're in. I mean, he's out there right now running really hard, and he's reaching people. And so, I think that's a real disappointment. And I'm disappointed in anybody who would say, one, I'm not going to support the nominee of the party. I mean, it's your party. And I get that you don't always, I don't always vote my party. I'm a free thinker. I vote my constituency and the people that elect me, and I vote within the best interest of my community.
Right.
So, I get that. But come on, you're on the team.
Exactly.
Be with the team. Support your team. And I have, so many people support me, and they don't agree with me on everything.
Right.
But by golly, I'm never going to be like, well, I'm sorry, I'm taking my bat and my ball, and I'm going home because there's one person on the team that, I just think that's unfortunate, and it's short-sighted. And I think we've had candidates who've come out of the box that people initially didn't identify with or thought they seemed to, I don't know, maybe initially they didn't feel like they could ever fall in line. But look at what some of those people actually became. So I would just say I would, I don't think you should begrudge anybody that success, especially when they're reaching people like Donald Trump is reaching.
Well, look, you had a record turnout in the primary campaign in Virginia just a week ago. Over 1 million people turn out, highest they've ever had. Obviously, something positive is happening. Senator, I've got a minute and a half. Your top senatorial priorities this week, what are they?
Well, it's got to be the budget. That's it. We're winding up the Senate session, and the legislation has been passed, and a lot of really, really critical bills that actually passed both chambers that, are waiting to go to the governor for signature can live or die based on whether or not there's funding in the budget. So I've got some, domestic violence bills. I've got some criminal legislation, a whole bunch of bills that I've worked really hard to pass, and that, lots of people have worked to pass. So that all hinges on what happens in the budget. Plus, we've got, a lot of competition for, a small amount of resources. So that's the biggest issue we'll deal with this week is the budget.
Okay, we're out of time. We want to thank Senator Jill Vogel for being with us, also for announcing her lieutenant governor campaign right here on the John Fredericks Radio Network. I have her as the morning line favorite to win, Reeves' second choice. Now, I think Vogel is going to be very, very tough at that convention, where and whenever it is. For more information, go to SenatorJillVogel.com. That's SenatorJillVogel.com. Senator, thanks for taking time out of your day to be with us.